Hello my friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Callie if you are new here, and if you're not, welcome back. Today we are just doing a little bit of like a birthday vlog. So yesterday was my actual birthday, but I went to work. So I was working for most of my birthday, which is fine, but I had the next day off. So we're celebrating today and kind of just pretending that today is my birthday. But it really was yesterday. It's my 25th birthday. So I really wanted to use this time to kind of like reflect on 24 and what it's meant to me and just like lessons I've learned in my 20s. And I really also want to think about what I want 25 to look like. It's really kind of cool that my birthday falls so close to New Year's because it really does feel like a whole new reset. It's just a really fresh, beautiful start. Most of my birthdays for most of my life have taken place in Utah, so it's just crazy that I'm here. Since we're celebrating, we have reservations at an Italian place tonight and we're gonna go to a museum right now. I just really love seeing new things and I love museums, I love cities, I just love exploring. We're really gonna focus on just, you know, what I want 25 to look like and what I've learned in my 20s. So that's kind of the intention for the day, I guess. This is so beautiful. We're in Winter Park and the museum's closed, so we're just walking around. And this is the outfit. What is your review of the bruschetta? Yeah? What are you rating?
Probably some of the better.
Good ingredients.
Stuff we've had now.
Very strong. I think the bruschetta though, I would give it like a 9 out of 10. It's probably the best bruschetta I've ever had actually. This looks freaking amazing. Wow. Yum. We just had dinner and it was so good. It was so good. Like, this place is incredible. It's called Armando's behind me. We have many leftovers. We also ordered the tiramisu and the cannoli. Probably the best Italian food I've ever had in my life. Yeah. Hi, it is the next day and I didn't film at all last night because sometimes, you know, I'm a person who goes through these different waves of emotions sometimes, and sometimes I can't explain why. I think sometimes it's linked to the depression that I was diagnosed with at a young age, and so sometimes I'll just kind of wake up in a weird mood, just kind of feeling sad. And so yesterday I woke up kind of feeling like that, but I was trying to get through it, and just that night I just did not feel like filming or doing anything really, and so I just decided to wait till today when I hopefully felt better after some sleep, and I do. So we're going to go through the lessons I've learned now. But there was 3 different things that I kind of wanted to do with turning 25 with you guys on video, and so I wanted to show you. The first thing is accomplishments, what I've accomplished in my 20s. The other is lessons I've learned in my 20s, what I want for 25. I feel like a quarter of a century is just, it's crazy. This is like a big birthday for me. I really felt like it was a good chance to do some exercises like this and just kind of journal and figure out what I want for the future and just reflect on what I've accomplished so far. It's interesting because if you would have asked me what 25 would look like a couple years ago, it would have looked way different because I wanted to move here, but it's been, I don't know, I feel like the fear was holding me back for a long time. And so I'm really grateful to be at a place where I have been able to move here and I'm 25. I would have probably had a big birthday party and celebrated a little bit more if I was living in Utah. But I'm here in this new city. I work quite a bit right now, and also I've made a few friends here, but I'm still making friends, and the connections that I'm making are awesome and amazing, but it just takes time to get, you know, close with people here. And so I've made some really great friends, but I didn't really want to have like a big party because all the friends that I'm used to having around, all the friends I'm deeply close with are back in Utah. I don't know what happened here with my hands. I think tanning drops got on there, but it's really weird because it didn't look like this yesterday and I didn't put on tanning drops today, so I don't know what happened, but anyway, ignore. Let's get into it. So I first list my accomplishments, and I'm not gonna list all of them. This is my list, but I will go over a few. One I just mentioned was overcoming my fear in moving here. I've always wanted to live somewhere somewhat close to the ocean, and now the ocean is only 1 hour away on one side, 2 hours on the other. I have like multiple beaches I can explore, and that's been incredible. And also, I've wanted to move near Disney. California was originally my goal, but Florida is just incredible, and I'm so grateful to be here. I started working for Disney, which was a dream of mine since I was a little girl. I've always wanted to work for Disney. It's just a dream come true. I didn't really think it was gonna pan out in my life because I was doing hair, I was in a full-time career, and I just didn't really see myself going quote-unquote backwards. But one of the lessons I've learned actually is that there really is no backward. Nothing has to be linear. It doesn't have to be like a ladder. Our lives are meant to be experienced. We're meant to have multiple experiences in this life, and so I don't necessarily have to make my life go a certain way. I can move all across the board. I'm so thankful, I'm so blessed to be able to be doing this in my life right now, even though it feels very different. It's a big change from what I was doing before. It's a big pay cut from what I was doing before. But one of the lessons I've also learned is that money isn't the most important thing, and your happiness is. And sometimes you just gotta go for things and everything will fall into place later. And that's what I did. And so even with the pay cut, even with just kind of starting from scratch and doing something completely different, building a completely different skill set and kind of moving away from the skill set that I just acquired working at my last salon, it just builds more experience, and it just means that I have more under my belt. It's not a tragedy. I'm not losing anything. I'm just adding and gaining more experiences. I also got engaged, which is incredible. Ignore the tanner. At my last salon, I made it to a master stylist, which is pretty much the highest you can go in my salon. You go junior, stylist 1, stylist 2, creative 1, creative 2, and then it's master. And I made it all the way to the top, and I never thought I could. I really didn't. Now having done that, and then to leave after making it that far was crazy, but crazy doesn't mean bad, and crazy sometimes is the right choice. So I'm just grateful I was able to accomplish it and make it that far. And then, I don't know, it just felt like I needed other experiences, and I'm really grateful for that one. I started getting my psychology degree. I'm in school. That's something I've accomplished that I've been wanting to do, but wasn't really sure that it was the right path or that it was something I could handle. And now I finally feel like I'm at a place in my life where I feel like it's right to do that. And so I'm here, I'm getting my psychology degree, and yeah, we're doing it. One thing that I did is when I was 19 to 20, that range, I started trying to get off of my antidepressants, and I successfully did. I'm off of antidepressants, and I'm not saying antidepressants are bad or anything, and who knows, maybe I will be on antidepressants at some point again in my life. I've seen people say that it's been very helpful for them. For me, it was not, and maybe it was the one I was on. I'm not saying that antidepressants are bad or anything like that. Please don't come at me. But for me, they were very harmful in a lot of ways, and I can make a video on that if anyone is really interested in that topic. I have so much to say on my experience with antidepressants if anyone wants to hear it. I do consider that an accomplishment, getting off of antidepressants, because I was on them since the time I was about 6 years old, and I was on and off of them my whole life. I couldn't get off of them, and then finally I think I was 20 when I fully got off of them. Yeah, and at 20 I was antidepressant free, which is just amazing to think. I also learned to ski in my 20s, and I never really thought that that was something I was gonna enjoy or like, but I wanted to do it, and I just wanted to try it, and I can successfully ski, and I would say I'm pretty good at it actually. I also want to learn to surf when I'm here, so that's something that I'm thinking about for like the year of 25. I got through my parents' second divorce. I won't get into that too much, but I'm just proud of myself for getting through it. I also bought a car. The car did break down, but it got me all the way to Florida. It did me well. It was my first car that I like bought from a dealership, because before then I was just getting like kind of hand-me-down cars I was buying off of family members or friends, you know, that type of thing. So this was my first car that I like bought myself. And I think that that's all I'm gonna go into. I have more on this list, but I don't want to make this video too long. Then we're gonna get into the lessons I've learned. This is just lessons I've learned in my 20s. This is kind of the main theme of the video, but we're gonna go over kind of what I want to take into 25 with me as well. But lessons I've learned in my 20s, so that's like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now I'm 25, but lessons up until 25. One thing I learned about was human design. I'm gonna actually put the human design app right here if anyone's interested, but I actually pay for the paid version of this app, but there's also a free version that is really amazing. It takes your birthday, and I don't know exactly what it does or how it figures it out. It gives you your human design based on your birthday. It's not astrology, it's different than astrology. I don't really know exactly how it's different from astrology or why, but I know that it resonates with me. And that's what I kind of think about with anything like astrology, human design, anything like that. For me, it's just if it aligns with me. If it doesn't, that's fine. I won't, you know, take it into my spiritual practice or, you know, my brain, or I just won't, you know, bring it into my life. But if I feel like it resonates and I feel like it's something that rings true for me, I'll take it into my life. So that's what human design has been for me, and I really felt like it's made sense and it's helped me a lot. So that's why I have taken it into my spiritual practice. I look at my human design every day, and it just kind of gives you a guide on how to navigate life with your human design, with like the type of personality you are and the type of person you are. It's just been incredibly helpful. I won't go into it too much. I could do a whole video on it if anyone wants me to. This video is not sponsored or anything, by the way. I just like love the app. One thing I learned from human design is that we're all different people and we all process and experience things in different ways, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing that we're all different, and we just need to learn more about each other to know how to navigate those differences and how to get along and see them as beautiful things versus things that are barriers. You know, the differences don't have to be barriers, they can actually bring us together. So that's one thing that I've learned, is that differences don't have to be barriers, they can bring us together. Another thing I've learned is that what you get out of an experience has more to do with your lens and the way that you're seeing the experience than it does with your environment and the people around you. Environment and people around you definitely do make an impact on you and how you're gonna feel and how you process things. But I think more than anything, we are all in charge of our own emotions and our own brains and the way that we see the world. Even the way when I'm in an emotional wave, I'm still accountable for how I react to things and how I see and experience a situation. So I think above all else, we are responsible for how we see things and how we process and respond to situations. And so making sure that we remember that we are in control, like I'm in the driver's seat no matter who is around me, no matter what they're doing, no matter what the environment is, I'm still in the driver's seat of my own emotions and the way that I'm gonna react and process things. Another thing I've learned is I have more walls up than I thought, and I struggle with vulnerability sometimes. If you would have asked me this like 6 months ago, like, do you feel like you're very vulnerable and open? I would have been like, yes, I am. Now, having been here by myself and just kind of having gone through so many journaling exercises and just like learning about myself and spending a lot of time with myself, I've learned that I wasn't as vulnerable as I thought, and there's still a lot of things that are hard for me to talk about sometimes. And I think that it's kind of a growing and learning process. I don't think any of us are ever gonna fully get to a point where we're just like, I am totally open all the time and nothing can hurt me ever again, and I'm just open and my heart is open always, and I wanna get there. But you know, I do think it's like a constant process. Like sometimes we're gonna feel more open and sometimes we're not, and I think that's okay as long as we learn how to work through it. And you know, some people aren't safe space. Like there's some people you don't want to be vulnerable around, and that's okay. But for instance, like with my partner, I want to be completely vulnerable with him, and sometimes I struggle with that. Recognizing that I have these walls, I'm still learning how to break some of them down, and I feel like I've made progress, but just kind of recognizing that I do have some barriers in place that I didn't realize before, and I had to really open up myself to those barriers too, because I didn't even know they were there. So really just learning how to be open and not being so, I guess, not listening to my ego so much that I think I've just already done the work and I don't need to try anymore. You know, I feel like that is my ego talking when I'm like, well, I'm already open enough and I'm vulnerable enough and I've done all the work and I'm good to go. That's when you stop growing. I feel like that's when I feel like I'm done, is when I stop growing, because then I just think I've already done all the work, when it's always a growing process and a learning process. And that's what's so great about life, is we're always growing and learning, experiencing new things. I'm grateful for everything that I've learned in this life and everything that I continue to learn, and all the growth that I've had. We're never done growing, and I think that you can look at that as a sad thing or a scary thing and just think that, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna be done. Or you can look at that as life is never gonna be boring. There's always gonna be more to learn. How annoying and horrible and boring would it be if we were just done, you know, we're just done learning. I also have learned that being vulnerable is the key to unlocking depth in relationships, and you're not gonna have a deep and meaningful relationship if you're not willing to break down those walls and be vulnerable with someone else. The human design has also taught me another lesson, and that was that there are a few different types of people, well, many different types of people in this world, but a lot of people can kind of be broken down somewhat into two categories: emotional and non-emotional. Now, I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but this is just a simplified way to think about things. So emotionals, like me, I'm an emotional, experience waves of emotion. I think that emotionals are more commonly diagnosed with mental illnesses because I think that that would make sense with like experiencing a depressive episode or anxiety. Sometimes these feelings feel like they come out of nowhere and you don't really know where they originate from. And that's what an emotional goes through. So basically an emotional experience is waves of emotion. They don't really necessarily have to come from a certain place, they just experience them. Like I just wake up sad sometimes, I just wake up with these feelings sometimes. What I've learned about human design is that non-emotionals reflect that back. So they don't really experience these waves of emotion, they react to their environment or their feelings that other people have ignited within them, or they're basically, a lot of the time, they're reflecting back what the emotionals are feeling. They pick up on that and they reflect it back. So that's been very helpful with me understanding other people that are non-emotionals and also understanding myself. It's been very frustrating when I wake up and I just feel a certain way and I really just want to know. I'm like, why do I feel like this? I don't understand. And in my human design, it says I am meant to experience emotions in waves so that I can have a full range of emotion and depth in this life so that I can better help others. Now, I'm in psychology school because I'm hoping to be a therapist someday, and I think that that's going to be beneficial. I used to think about that as a horrible thing. I used to think it sucks having, you know, depression. It sucks to wake up and feel this way, and not that it doesn't, but I'm grateful it's teaching me something, and now it feels more like there's a reason why. This is kind of a weird one, but it is what I believe. I don't know if this can be necessarily proven. I do think that there's some research and some studies on it, but I'm gonna let you do your own research and just tell you my opinion and just tell you kind of what I've learned based on my own research, based on my experiences, based on things I've read, books I've read, articles I've read. Take what resonates with you, because we might not feel the same way about this topic. So, and about any of the topics I've talked about. So please keep that in mind. Reality is just infinite dimensions, right? So I used to think that time was linear and that reality was linear, and this happens now. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Like a story, like a book. It's beginning, middle, end. But there are infinite realities and infinite dimensions, and it doesn't necessarily go like this. It's just everywhere all at once. Everything is happening all at once at one time. Time isn't real, money isn't real, material things aren't real. What's real is our souls and who we are and the way that we experience each other and experience this life. Learning that has really helped me, because for me, I've done a lot of healing and inner work with my inner child. I still need to do a lot of work with my inner teenager, and then my higher self is who I want to be in the future. Now, these three individuals in my mind helped me through a lot in my life, and only recently, as of the last year or two maybe, is when I've started to recognize that these parts of myself existed and that I could, you know, communicate with them. The thing is that you can take this however you want, but the way that I see it is, if time isn't linear, then I am existing at the same time as 6-year-old me is, and we're both existing at the same time as my higher self is, who is in the future, who I want to be. My higher self is constantly changing because that person is just growing and continuing, and that vision shifts as I shift. But we're all happening at the same time. And this also means that all realities are happening at the same time, infinite realities. That means anything is possible. So if I want a loft apartment in the future, like I put on my vision board on Pinterest, that does exist. It exists right now, but maybe just not in this dimension and in this reality. That means that I can manifest that. And that is now, or it's the future, or it's the past. This might sound crazy, but for me, it gives me comfort actually, because it just means that there's so much possibility and the horizon is just endless. I think that's part of why I love the ocean, because it's just full of possibilities and endlessness, and it's just so open. And some people could see that as scary and vast and too big, and that's how I used to see it when it was kind of framed to me like that. When people would talk about it like that, as it being big and scary and open, and now I'm like, that's so amazing. It's big and open and vast, and there's so much possibility, and there's so much that can happen. And that's how I see reality now. There's just so many things that can happen. It's not all that serious. The material stuff isn't all that serious. The stuff that's serious is who we are at our core and our souls, and whether we're doing the work or not, and how we're experiencing other people, and how we're reacting to them, and how we're making them feel, and how we're making ourselves feel. I hope I'm making sense. Easier said than done to remember that. I do take things very seriously a lot of the time that don't need to be taken seriously. I'll go to bed and think about something I said earlier that day that probably didn't matter. And so I'm not saying that I am perfect at this, but that's also why we can create our own reality. And so that's why it brings me so much comfort, because I feel that I can create whatever reality I want. And that's a good feeling. This one's gonna be a little bit controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyway, because this is a lesson that I have learned, and it is totally fine if you disagree with me. I would love for you to disagree with me, because that means we're different people who have different experiences and different feelings and thoughts on things, and that is more than okay. I feel I've had quite the experience with trying to figure out my spirituality. Like, do I believe in, you know, a God? Do I believe, what do I believe, you know? And I grew up very religious, and that did not resonate with me at all. In fact, it was very harmful and caused me a lot of trauma, so that was really fun. But now I'm at a point where I was just kind of thinking, well, I was when I left my religion. I just kind of didn't have anything, and then just kept moving through life trying to find, I guess, a meaning and put a purpose to it, and put a purpose to myself, because I think we all kind of need, we don't necessarily need religion or a God, but we need kind of a something to keep this life, making this life worth living. That can be love, relationships, it can be multiple things, but some of us want to find the deeper meaning. Like for me, I wanted to find a little bit of a deeper meaning for myself. Like, okay, so do I think that everything just kind of spontaneously existed? Like, do I think someone created it all? I think right now my feelings are, the conclusion that I've come to is, I don't necessarily think that there's one entity that's like a greater power. I kind of think that God is unity. It's the energy of being united, and the energy that connects us all. It's connection. It's an energy. I don't necessarily think it's an entity. I actually think that a lot of religions, and maybe not all, but a lot of religions actually come from ego, or come from a place of pride, because it's about being right. My way is right. This is the only true church, or this is the only true church, or this is the only true church, and this religion is the right one, and this religion is the right one. And I had a friend I saw on Instagram who she was sharing about how she felt like religions just kind of came from that place of ego, and that they were missing the point, in that the whole point of a religion is supposed to be coming together. And she's like, why can't we come together and discuss our differences without trying to prove a point? Like without saying, well, I'm right and this is why I'm talking about this, because I want to convince you that I'm right. And why can't we just discuss openly and be like, well, this is what I believe and this is what you believe, and that's so interesting and fascinating and that's cool. I think if we ever are able to come to a place as a world where we're united, that would be incredible. I really hope we do, and I think that that's kind of the whole point, and that's the challenge in this life, is when we're all so different and there's so many different beliefs and thoughts in everyone's heads, and we're all such different personalities, and not to mention a lot of us have different mental issues and different, you know, traumas in our lives and different things. How can we come together regardless of all of that? I don't think we've gotten there, and I really hope we do someday, but that's what I believe that the whole point is. I think that's the whole purpose, is to learn how to unite, even with all the differences. God is unity. And that's kind of the conclusion that I've come to with that. And my thoughts could change. I feel like my spirituality is always evolving and growing based on, you know, when I learn something new, I kind of shift my beliefs. Oh my gosh, this is getting long. I need to hurry up. I do think too that humans need ritual and community. And so I think that that's another reason why being united is so important. And I think that because there's so many people who abuse like their power, or abuse, you know, their position of authority, I think it's hard for us to live in communities and unite and thrive. And that's why I don't see myself ever joining any religion, because I find that there's a lot of negativity in most religions that I've been exposed to, like a lot of negativity. And I understand that that's usually because there's people in power that abuse their power. But I do think that community is important, and I think we need to come together as people. I don't know how that's gonna work out, but those are my thoughts. Another thing I've learned is that our bodies are vehicles, and if you want your vehicle to run right, you've got to take care of it. Like if you get in your car and your car is dirty, you're gonna feel kind of dirty and gross, right? And I'm a horrible example of that because my car was always dirty when I was driving it around. But I feel like with your body, it's the same thing. Like if you feel gross on the outside, your soul's gonna feel that as well. As above, so below. I think that that rule would apply here, right? With the body and the soul. The other thing is, being stuck in the past or worrying about the future isn't going to change anything about the now, other than take you out of the now. I really want to be in the present moment, and I don't want to look back someday and feel like I wasn't really in the moments I was experiencing. If it feels aligned, take the risk. Everything else will fall into place later in ways you do not expect sometimes. The universe blesses us in ways we can't predict a lot of the time. Usually I will want something and be manifesting something and think I'm not gonna get it, and then it happens, but in a way I did not expect, and I'm like, oh my God, that came true. But it was definitely not the way that I was planning it or the way I was expecting it. You can't really plan these things the way you think you're going to, if that makes sense. Basically what I'm saying is, you don't necessarily have to know what the road looks like as long as you're getting to the end, you know? You don't necessarily have to know how you're gonna get there. You just have to know you're gonna get there. Finally got through all the lessons that I've learned, and I do kind of want to briefly just go over like kind of what I am envisioning for the year 25. I already kind of went over it in my New Year's vlog, so I'm not gonna go into it a ton. But basically what I want in 25 is, I just want a lot of these lessons to be taken into 25, and I want deeper relationships for my year of 25. I'm going to be planning a wedding. I really want to kind of use that as a way to deepen my relationships with others too, with Brayden, with family, with friends. I want the year 25 to be very European, very slow living, very just living in the moment and taking things as they come. I'm also a college girl, so I see this year being a lot of studying in coffee shops. And I am a barista, so this year we'll have a lot of coffee. Slow mornings, calm studying. I've been working later, so if that kind of stays the way it is, then I really hope it does, and I think I'm gonna try to make sure that it does, that I'm working evening shifts for the most part, because I really love having my morning and just slowing down. It just feels very right to me and aligned. Having later days works better for me because I think I'm more of a night owl. I see myself spending a lot of time at the beach, a lot of picnics, a lot of exploring. I love different architecture, so I want to spend more time in cities and just like downtown exploring and seeing art museums, that type of thing. So that's what I kind of see for this year 25. And mainly like peace and deeper relationships and lots of knowledge and growth. That's what I'm hoping for 25. I obviously have like a huge list, of course, but I won't go into any of that because I feel like we've done a lot here and I feel like it's been long enough. I really hope you enjoyed that and that you got something out of it and that you were able to learn some lessons as well. And comment below the lessons you've learned. If you're in your 20s or whatever age you are, comment below what you've learned. Whether you're younger than me, whether you're older than me, age is just a construct anyway, and we can always all be learning from each other regardless of where we are in our lives, because we're all different people with different experiences. We all have our own stories, and there's always something we can learn from each other no matter how different we are. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you got something out of it. I know that I did, just doing these exercises and just talking about this and filming it. I know I got a lot out of it, so I hope that you did as well. And thank you so much for your time and for watching this and being on this journey with me. And I hope you have an incredible day. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye.